Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदानेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। बोलो श्री राधे गोलोकानंद भगवान की जय। बोलो श्रीमद् भागवतम की
जय।
जय। हरे कृष्णा प्रेम।
Hare Krishna everyone.
Okay, so we'll आज थोड़ी एक स्क्रीन है तो जस्ट मैनेज विद दैट। Okay, cool. See the screen, right?
Yes.
All right, so last week हम लोग अध्याय 14 पढ़ रहे थे ऑफ 7th स्कंद। तो जैसा कि हम लोग 7वें स्कंद पर हैं, ऑलमोस्ट वी ओनली हैव लाइक 2 or 3 अध्यायs रिमेनिंग इन द 7th स्कंद। अभी हम लोग 14वें अध्याय पे हैं एंड 15th श्लोक पढ़ रहे थे। और जैसा कि इस अध्याय में हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं, नारद मुनि युधिष्ठिर महाराज को बता रहे हैं कि एक गृहस्थ आश्रम में गृहस्थी फैमिली को कैसे रहना चाहिए। राइट, इसके पहले उन्होंने डिस्क्राइब किया एक सन्यासी को कैसे रहना चाहिए, एक ब्रह्मचारी को कैसे रहना चाहिए, एक वानप्रस्थ आश्रम को कैसे रहना चाहिए। और अब युधिष्ठिर महाराज ने नारद मुनि को पूछा कि एक गृहस्थ आश्रम जो वन में जाके नहीं रह सकते हैं, जो सन्यास लेकर नहीं रह सकते हैं, जो ब्रह्मचारी बनकर नहीं रह सकते हैं, उनको रहने की क्या विधि है, कैसे वो धर्म का आचरण करते हुए कैन गो बैक टू गॉड हेड। राइट, और उसके पहले हमने प्रहलाद महाराज की स्तुति पढ़ी, राइट, नरसिंह भगवान के बारे में पढ़ा। तो अब हम पढ़ रहे हैं नारद मुनि युधिष्ठिर महाराज को बता रहे हैं कि कैसे एक गृहस्थ को रहना चाहिए। सो नारद मुनि, लास्ट वीक वी रेड द श्लोक, every day one should worship the supreme being who is situated in everyone's heart, and on this basis one should separately worship the demigods, the saintly persons, ordinary human beings and living entities, one's forefathers and one's self. In this way one is able to worship the supreme being in the core of everyone's heart. Yeah, so we'll continue to read this next slok 16. Anilji.
हर्यात्मनो अधिकाराद्याः सर्वाः तिर्यज्ञसम्पदः पैतानिकेन विधिना अग्निहोत्रादिना यजेत्. When one is enriched with wealth and knowledge which are under his full control and by means of which he can perform yajna or please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one must perform sacrifices, offering oblations to the fire, according to the directions of the Shastras. In this way, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Right? What Narad Muni is saying is, once if somebody has the wealth and also the jnana, right, then they should do yajna sampadaya, right? They should be able to perform because they have the wealth, they have the knowledge, they should be able to perform the yajna. By doing the yajna, they should please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, right? And that can be done according to the directions of the Shastras, is what is mentioned. Let's read this purport. Sumit. And unmute Sumit.
If a grihastha or householder is sufficiently educated in Vedic knowledge and has become sufficiently rich to offer worship to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must perform yagnas as directed by the authorized scriptures. Bhagavad Gita 3.9 clearly says, Yagna arthat karmoho nayatara loko yam karma bandhana. Everyone may be engaged in his occupational duties, but the result of these duties should be offered for sacrifice to satisfy the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to possess transcendental knowledge as well as the money with which to perform sacrifices, one must do it accordingly to the direction given in the Shastras. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kritaya dhyayanto Vishnum Tretayam yajato makhaye Dvapare parichayayam kalau tadhari kirtanat. The entire Vedic civilization aims at satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This way possible in Satya Yuga by meditation upon the Supreme Lord with the core of one's heart, and in Treta Yuga by the performance of costly yagnas. The same goal could be achieved in Dwapar Yuga by by worship of the Lord in temple. And in this age of Kali, one can achieve the same goal by performing Sankirtana Yagna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah?
Hare Krishna.
So very importantly, yeah, mentioning Srimad Bhagavatam itself. We'll get this in the 12th scan. And what it is saying, how many yugas are there?
4.
4 yugas, right? So Satyug, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And in
Kali Yuga.
Srimad Bhagavatam, yeah, itself is mentioned is that in Prite Yad Dhyato Vishnu. That is, in Satyug, it was possible to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by meditation upon the Supreme Lord within the one's core heart. Yeah, Dhyato Vishnu. But Tretayam Yajato Makhe. Yeah, so in Treta Yuga, performing of the costly yajna. So in Treta Yuga, that's why I see all these yajnas are performed, right? And Dwapare Paricharyayam. That is, in Dwapar Yuga, the same thing could be achieved by the worship of the Lord in the temple. So that's why you see all these temples established, and then Archanam, right? Archanam is the one vidhi by which you could then worship Lord Vishnu. Yeah. But the most important part for us is because current Yuga is Kali Yuga, as we know, right? It's mentioned that in this age of Kali, one can achieve the same goal by performing Sankirtan Yajna, right? And the Sankirtan Yajna is like we do our chanting starting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, right? So that's part of the chanting. So in this age of Kali, one can get the same goal. And what is the goal? What's the goal of
Moksha.
the human life? Yeah, the goal of the human life is to satisfy the Supreme Personality
Supreme
of God.
Personality, yeah.
Yeah, to surrender to Lord Shri Krishna. What does that mean? Is doing the devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna. Then you may achieve moksha, you may not achieve moksha, but the most important part is being in the devotional service so that you can go back to the Golok with in the Lord Shri Krishna's lok, and that goal can be achieved by doing Sankirtan Yajna. So this is how it is described in different yugas, Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, and Kali Yug, how one can achieve the surrendering to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, Ajay?
Therefore, one who has education and wealth must use them to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by helping the Sankirtan movement that has already begun, the Hare Krishna movement or Krishna consciousness movement. All educated and wealthy persons must join this movement, since money and education are meant for service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If money and education are not engaged in the service of the Lord, these valuable assets must be engaged in the service of Maya. The education of so-called scientists, philosophers, and poets is now engaged in the service of Maya, and the wealth of the rich is also engaged in Maya's service. The service of Maya, however, creates a chaotic condition in the world. Therefore, the wealthy man and the educated man should sacrifice their knowledge and opulence by dedicating them for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord and joining the Sankirtan movement. Yagna Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti his Sumedasaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is essentially being mentioned is, if we have the money, if we have the knowledge, either we can use that, then we can just leave it as is, and then at some point, it's a temporary life. All those will stay, and then we'll get some other birth, right? Or go back to Godhead if we are in the devotional service. If we don't use that in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it can be used in the service of Maya, right? And what is mentioned is, servicing of Maya creates a chaotic condition in the world, as we have seen, right? And all the temporary situations are created. So what is being mentioned is, one should sacrifice the knowledge and the opulence by dedicating them for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, or doing the devotional service. And then we also read the 9 ways of doing the devotional service, right? What are those 9 ways?
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam.
Yeah, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Sakhyam, Dashyam, Atmanivedanam, right? Different way of doing the devotional service. Prem sir?
Na hai agni mukhato yam vai Bhagwan sarva yajna book. Ijeta havisha rajan yatha vipra mukhe hutiya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the enjoyer of sacrificial offerings. Yet, although his lordship eats the oblations offered in the fire, my dear king, he is still more satisfied when nice food made of grains and ghee is offered to him through the mouths of qualified brahmanas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So as we know, when we do the yajna, we are offering all these oblations, right, into the fire. It says Agni Mukhoto Yam. And where does it go? Bhagwan Sarva Yajna Bhuka. Everything offered in the oblations goes to Bhagwan. But what is mentioned is, he is even more satisfied. The Lord, Supreme Lord, is even more satisfied when nice food made of grains and ghee is offered to him through the mouths of qualified Brahmans, right? Like for a grihast, as Narad Muni is explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and for a grihast, you should also do all this food thing for Brahmans, because as described, Brahmans are supposed to be engaged in all the Vaishnava Seva, right? Hare Krishna, Tarun.
Hare Krishna. Tasmad Brahmana Deveshu Matiyadisu Yatrahata Teste Kamer yajasvenam kshetrajanam brahmanam anu. Therefore, my dear king, first offer prasad unto the brahmanas and the demigods, and after sumptuously feeding them, you may distribute prasad to other living entities according to your ability. In this way, you will be able to worship all living entities, or in other words, the supreme living entity within every living entity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, right? Because the supreme entity, every living entity has a soul, and also the supreme soul, right? That's why this is Samdarshi, because we have this Sthul Sharir, then we have a Suksham Sharir, then we have the soul, Atma, and then we have the super soul, which is the Paramatma, and Paramatma is the supreme living entity within every living entity, right? So, so this is what is being explained by whom? Who is explaining this?
Narad Muni explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj.
Right, yeah. So Narad Muni is answering this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And Yudhishthira Maharaj's question is, how can a Grihast, live ideally according to dharmas in this world? That's the answer we are reading right now. Hare Krishna, Rinaji.
Hare Krishna. कुर्याद परपक्षीयं मासी पृष्ठपदे द्विज श्राद्धं पित्रोर्यथा वित्तं तद्वन्दूनां च वित्तवान्. A Brahman who is sufficiently rich must offer oblations to the forefathers during the dark moon fortnight in the latter part of the month of Bhadra. Similarly, he should offer oblations to the relatives of the forefathers during the Mahalaya ceremonies in the month of Ashwin. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So it's described like during Shraddha Paksha, what should be done by a Grihasti. Ayane vishuve kuryat vyatipate dinakshaya Chandradityo parage cha dvadasham shavaneshu cha Titiyayam shukla pakshe navmya mat kartike Chatasri svashtayashtakasu hemante sishire tatha Maghe cha sid saptamyam madharakāsamāgame Rakya chanumatya cha masrakshani yutanyapi Dvadasu sham anuradha Shacha vanistritya uttara Trishvekadashi vasu Janmaksha Yuk. One should perform the Shadh ceremony on the Makar Sankranti, the day when the sun begins to move north, or on the Karkat Sankranti, the day when the sun begins to move south. One should also perform this ceremony on the Mes Sankranti day and the Tula Sankranti day in the yoga named Vyati Pata. On that day, in which 3 lunar tithis are co-joined, during an eclipse of either the moon or the sun, on the 12th lunar day, and in the Shravan Nakshatra. One should perform this ceremony on the Akshaya Tritiya day, on the 9th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Kartik, on the 4 Ashtakas in the winter season and cool season, on the 7th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Meg, during the conjunction of Mag Nakshatra and the full moon day, and on the days when the moon is completely full or not quite completely full, when these days are conjoined with the nakshatras from which the names of certain months are derived. One should also perform the Shadh ceremony on the 12th lunar day when it is in conjunction with any of the nakshatras named Anuradha, Shravan, Uttara Falguni, Uttara Shadh, or Uttara Bhadrapada. Again, one should perform this ceremony when the 11th lunar day is in conjunction with either Uttara Falguni, Uttara Shadha, or Uttara Bhadrapad. Finally, one should perform this ceremony on days conjoined with one's own birth star, Janma Nakshatra, or with Shravan Nakshatra. So much Narad Muni is explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj. This is, of course, based on the lunar calendar day, right? And I know most of us don't understand those calendar months and days anymore, right? But I think we know when the Shraddha Paksh comes, right? We know when the Kartik month is there. So I think all those auspicious months, we should follow the instructions of the Shastras. Yeah, is what is mentioned here. Anilji?
एते श्रेयसः काला नृणां श्रेयो विवर्धनाः कुर्यात् सर्वात् मनयतेषु श्रेयो मोघं तदायुषः. All of these seasonal times are considered extremely auspicious for humanity. At such times, one should perform all auspicious activities, for by such activities the human being attains success in his short duration of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so all these things which were just mentioned are auspicious for humanity. Tad ayusha, in the short duration of life. Like we all know, such a short duration of life a human being has in Kali Yuga, right? So all those activities should be performed. Sumit?
Eshu snanam japo hamo vratam devadijnarchanam prit devna bhratobhyo yadittam tadayan shuram. During these periods of seasonal change, if one baths in the Ganges, in the Yamuna, or in any other sacred place, if one chants, offer fire sacrifice, or execute vows, or if one worships the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the forefathers, the demigods, and the living entities in general, whatever he gives in charity yields a permanently beneficial result. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so all those dharmic activities are basically what Narad Muni is advising Yudhishthira Maharaj to follow for a grihasth. Ajay?
संस्कार कालो जया अपत्य पश्चात्मन तथा प्रेत संस्था मृताहस्य कर्मण्यभ्युदये नृप. O King Yudhishthira, at the time prescribed for reformatory ritualistic ceremonies for oneself, one's wife or one's children, or during funeral ceremonies and annual death ceremonies, one must perform the auspicious ceremonies mentioned above in order to flourish in fruitive activities. Hare Krishna.
Same?
तथा देशं प्रवक्ष्यामि धर्मादि श्रेय आवाहन स वै पुण्यात्मो देशः सत्प्रथम यात्रा लभ्यते बिंबम भगवतो यात्रा सर्वम हित चरम चराचरम यात्रा ब्राह्मण कुलम तपो विद्या देवंतम. Narad Muni continued, now I shall describe the places where the religious performances may be well executed. Any place where a Vaishnava is available is an excellent place for all auspicious activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the support of this entire cosmic manifestation with all its moving and non-moving living entities. And the temple where the deity of the Lord is installed is a most sacred place. Furthermore, places where learned Brahmins observe Vedic principles by means of austerity, education, and merry are also most auspicious and sacred. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Narad Muni is saying is there are places which are sacred places, auspicious places, right? Like we saw about the Ganga Tat and all that. And the temple where Archanam, yeah, you can do the service of the deity of the Lord. That's called Archanam process, right? And those places are the sacred places. That's where the devotional service can be performed, right? Tarun?
यत्र यत्र हरेर अर्चा सदेश शेषयसा पद्मः यत्र गण्यादयो नद्य पुराणेषु च विश्रुताः. Auspicious indeed are the places where there is a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in which he is duly worshipped. Also the places where there flow the celebrated sacred rivers mentioned in the Puranas, the supplementary Vedic literatures. Anything spiritual done, there is certainly very effective. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah? So why should one go to those places, auspicious places, right? And why should one take a bath in those sacred rivers, right? Flow the celebrated sacred rivers, right? It says Yatra Ganga Dayo Nadhe. And then Puraneshu Cha Vishuta, right? In Puranas, the supplementary Vedic literatures, yeah, all the sacred rivers are mentioned, like Ganga, Yamuna, right? And anything spiritual done there is certainly very effective. What is mentioned, nice purpose, we are going to read this. Rinaji?
There are many atheists who oppose the worship of the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the temple. In this verse, however, it is authoritatively stated that any place where the deity is worshipped is transcendental. It does not belong to the material world. It is also said that the forest is in the mood of goodness, and therefore those who want to cultivate a spiritual life are advised to go to the forest. Vanam gato yad dharim astrayeta. But one should not go to the forest simply to live like a monkey. Monkeys and other ferocious animals also live in the forest, but a person who goes to the forest for spiritual culture must accept the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as shelter. Vanam gato yad dharim asrayeta. One should not be satisfied simply to go to the forest. One must take shelter for of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, therefore, since it is impossible to go to the forest for spiritual culture, one is recommended to live in the temple community as a devotee, regularly worship the deity, follow the regulative principles, and thus make the place like Vaikunt. The forest may be in goodness, the cities and villages in passion, and the brothels, hotels and restaurants in ignorance. But when one lives in the temple community, he lives in Vaikunt. Therefore, it is said here, Sreyasam, Sreyasam Padam. It is the best, most auspicious place. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So the temples, what is mentioned here is these days, right? Going to the forest is not easy, right? Impossible to go to the forest for spiritual culture these days. So it's recommended to regularly at least attend activities in a temple, right? Worship the deity is what is mentioned. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Sachin.
Hare Krishna. In many places throughout the world, we are constructing communities to give shelter to devotees and worship the deity in the temple. The deity cannot be worshipped except by devotees. Temple worshippers who fail to give importance to devotees are third class. They are Kanishta Adhikaris in the lower stage of spiritual life. As it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.47, Archayam eva haraye pujam yah shraddha yehate न तद भक्तेषु तानिषु स भक्तः prakritah smrtah. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not know how to behave toward devotees or people in general is called prakrita bhakta or kanishta adhikari. Therefore, in the temple, there must be the deity of the Lord, and the Lord should be worshipped by the devotees. This combination of devotees and the deity creates a first-class transcendental place. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anilji?
Aside from this, if a grahast devotee worships the salagram, shila, or the form of the deity at home, his home also becomes very great place. It was therefore customary for members of the three higher classes, namely the Brahmins, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas, to worship the Saligram Shila or a small deity of Radha Krishna or Sitaram in each and every home. This made everything auspicious, but now they have given up the deity worship. Men have become modernized and are consequently indulging in all sorts of sinful activities, and therefore they are extremely unhappy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ajay?
According to Vedic civilization, therefore, the holy place of pilgrimage are considered most sacred, and still there are hundreds and thousands of holy places like Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, Haridwar, Rameshwar, Prayag, and Mathura. India is the place of worshipping or for cultivating a spiritual life. The Krishna consciousness movement invites everyone from all over the world without discrimination as to caste or creed to come to its centers and cultivate a spiritual life perfectly. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so that's the Vedic civilization, is to really cultivate the spiritual life, because that's the end goal of the human life, which is very short. And it's mentioned there are so many holy places: Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, Haridwar, Rameshwar, Prayag, Mathura, and so many places are described in India. Right? One can cultivate spiritual life, right? Is what is mentioned. Sumit?
Saransi Pushkaradini Shrenayana Hirshita Nayut Kurushetram Gayashiraha Prayagaha Pulahashram Nemisham Falgunam Setu Prabhaset Kushasthali Varanasi Madhupuri Pampa Bindu Sarastata Narayano Shamonanda Sitaram Shamodaya Sarve Kulachala Rajin Mahindra Mala Yada Eta Punyatma Desha Harera Chitteshraye Etan Deshatni Pavet Shreyoskamo Hai Vishnasha Dharmo Hantrahita Punsa Sastradi Falodaya. The sacred lakes like Pushkar and the places where saintly persons live, like Kurukshetra, Gaya, Prayag, Pulahasrama, Naimisharanya, the banks of Falugu River, Setu Bandha, Pralaksha, Dwarka, Varanasi, Mathura, Pampa, Bindu Sarovara, Badri Kasarama, Narayana Srama, the places where the Nanda river flows, the places where Lord Ramchandra and Mother Sita took shelter, such as Chitrakoot, and also the hilly tracts of land known as Mahendra and Malaya. All of these are to be considered most pious and sacred. Similarly, places outside India where the centers of the Krishna consciousness movement and where Radha Krishna deities are worshipped must all be visited and worshipped by those who want to be spiritually advanced. One who intends to advance in spiritual life may visit all these places and perform ritualistic ceremonies to get results 1,000 times better than the result of the same activities performed in any other place. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so all these places are mentioned, right? Like Kurukshetra, Gaya, Prayag. Like if you really go to Vrindavan or Rishikesh, and you will see like there are Mahatmas who are in different corners doing a lot of devotional service and a lot of auspicious activities, tapasya, right? You will find like those places really have the spiritual vibrations. Now you have like places like Nemi Saranya. And what was done at Nemi Saranya?
Ramayana.
Where was Srimad Bhagavatam was recited,
Recited, yes.
right? So first it was recited by Sukdev Goswami to whom?
Parikshit Maharaj.
Parikshit Maharaj, right? Sukdev Goswami recited to Parikshit Maharaj at Ganga Tat and Yamuna River. But then when the Kali Yuga was about to start, all these Rishi Munis gathered at Nemi Saranya. And that's where Sonak Muni asked to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. So that's like Nemi Saranya. So all these places like Dwarka, of course, we know Lord Krishna stayed there. We know the Kashi Vishwanath, Mathura Vrindavan, Badrika Ashram, right, where you have the Nar Narayan Ashram, and all these rivers, and of course Chitrakoot, all these places where we have, and all these things have been mentioned like thousands and thousands of years ago in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So this is all Narad Muni is describing that in Grihastha Ashram, one should try to visit to those places. Prem?
पात्रं तव अत्र निरुक्तं वै कवि भी पात्र वित्तमय हरिर इवैका विषा यान मयम वै characharam. O King of the earth, it has been decided by expert learned scholars that only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in whom all of that is moving or non-moving within this universe is resting and from whom everything is coming, is the best person to whom everything must be given. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, where everything is coming from. Hari Raveka. Yeah, Hari, Lord Shri Krishna. And that's where the everything must be given. And this is decided by the expert. And he is telling to, O King of the earth. Who is the King of the earth?
Yudhishthira.
Yudhishthira Maharaj, right? Because remember that time Yudhishthira Maharaj was doing the Rajasuya Yajna. That is done when he won the whole earth. And that's when he's asking Narad Muni in that Sabha, like what a Grihasthashram should be doing. Huh? Again, let's read this, Tarun.
If one wants to enjoy real peace and prosperity, he should give everything to Krishna, who is the real enjoyer, real friend and real proprietor. It is therefore said, Yatha taror mula nisheshena tapayanti tat khanda bhujopakshachaha pranopahara cha yadendriyanam tadeva sarvanaham achutteja. By worshipping or satisfying Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one can satisfy everyone, just as one can water the branches, leaves and flowers of a tree simply by watering its root, or as one satisfies all the senses of the body by giving food to the stomach. Therefore, a devotee simply offers everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to see the best results of charity, religious performances, sense gratification, and even liberation. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so what is nicely mentioned here is that like we don't water all the leaves and flowers and everything, right? All you need to do is water the root. Yeah, and the water goes everywhere. Right? Similarly, once we eat from stomach, right, all the food ingredients and vitamins and all those things go in the entire body. Similarly, if a devotee simply offers everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right, or if you pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the activities are taken care of, right? And all those things automatically happen. So what is mentioned here? Arina ji?
Devarshi hatsu ve satsu tatra brahmatma jadishu rajanya rajanyad agra pujayam matah patrataya chitah. O King Yudhishthir, the demigods, many great sages and saints including even the four sons of Lord Brahma, and I myself were present at your Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. But when there was a question of who should be the first person worshipped, everyone decided upon Lord Krishna, the Supreme Person. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so we know this in, right? When Yudhishthira was doing the Rajasuya Yajna, and everyone was there, including Lord Brahma, Sanat Kumars, all devatas, everybody was there. And then the question was asked, like, who should be the first person worshipped, right? As we know from there, Lord Krishna was the supreme person, and that's when Yudhishthira Maharaj was uh, first worshipping Lord Shri Krishna during the Rajasuya Yajna. Yeah. Like it's mentioned here, right? This is a reference to the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira. In that meeting, there was a great turmoil over selecting the best person to be worshipped first. Everyone decided to worship Sri Krishna. The only protest came from Shishupal, and because of his vehement opposition, he was killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And that's also a story we read about Shishupal and Dantavakra. Yeah, let's do one more shlok, Sachin.
Jiva Rashi Vira Kiranam अंडकोश शांक्रिपो महान तन्मूलत्वादच्युतेच्छा सर्वजीवात्मा arpanam. The entire universe, which is full of living entities, is like a tree whose root is Supreme Personality of Godhead, Achyuta, Krishna. Therefore, simply by worshipping Lord Krishna, one can worship all living entities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Sarva Jivatma Arpanam. Yeah. Simply by worshipping Lord Krishna, one can worship all living entities, and all living entity, as we read earlier, has Atma and Paramatma in them. We are going to pause here, and since we have been talking about the devotional service, we are going to hear a nice Hare Krishna Kirtan. Yeah. And for 6 to 7 minutes, 7 minutes around.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
तो श्री राधे कृष्ण भगवान की
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
and we'll see you tomorrow again at 9:30. We'll continue reading this about Grihastha and then we have one or two more adhyas, and then we would have completed 7th skand. So slowly and surely, let's keep going, right? How are you doing, Tarun? I know you were very busy last week.
Yeah, it's been crazy busy, Gajen. In fact, if you have some time, I'll talk to you when you're done.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'll call you on Thursday. I'll be driving back on Thursday afternoon, 3 or 4. I'll उस समय कॉल करता हूँ.
ठीक है, अभी कहाँ पर हो?
अभी तो शार्लेट
अच्छा,
ऑफिस.
Jai Shri Krishna. Good night.
जय श्री कृष्ण
Krishna, good
everyone.
night.
Jai Shri
कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.